After I put all the songs together that became this record, Gentle Breath, I walked away from it for a while. And when I started talking to people about it again, I was telling them about how meditative and relaxing it was. I listened to it again after not for some time, and I went, uh-oh, wait a second, this isn't all that meditative and peaceful. This record starts pretty dark and pretty intense and really anxious. Did I lead people astray with my description of what this was going to be? And do I need to rework this? I got really self-conscious about what the record was until I finished listening through it all in the way that I originally intended it to be listened to, start to finish. I realized that what I had actually done was capture the life cycle of an anxiety attack, of living with anxiety, the ups and the downs that you can feel, and also living with and struggling with depression. Not every day is a good day. I heard someone say that sometimes they tell their friends or their family that their backpack is heavy today. And I thought that that's the most simple and beautiful way to put that, is that sometimes your backpack is just heavier than others. Maybe the physical weight of it hasn't changed, but your ability to pick that up that day has. And I realized that that's just life. Not every day is awesome, and not every day ends feeling so wonderful. And so I thought that at this point in the journey of releasing music with an audience, I wanted to share a more intimate side of myself and my life and let you in further to who I really am as an artist and as a person, really just being a human being. Because being a human being is really challenging. And this record is kind of the soundtrack to that. At least that's my hope. It's my recommendation to listen to this record start to finish so you can experience the arc, go on the journey with me. And hopefully by the end of it, you feel a little bit better. Thanks for being here. The track Breathing In kicks off the record. It started with the first note that you hear. That was an exploration of sound design and going through virtual instruments until I found something that was kind of interesting and fun. But really, what this track is meant to do is to encapsulate the physical feeling of being anxious, the wobble, the shake, the pent-up energy with no place to expend it. That awful feeling that you have when you wake up in the middle of the night, realizing that you're having a panic attack, feeling like you need to run 3 miles and not being able to do anything about it. But then there are elements, softer elements to the track that come in to remind you that this is going to be a journey and we're going to see this through, and that it's going to be okay. So I felt pretty self-conscious about this track. I realized it was honest and it was where I was at when this whole process started. So I might as well start from the beginning. All right, I've been excited to talk about Auras. Auras is dark, it's spooky, it's intense, and there's not a lot of brightness to it. This track was written very much as a way to be an antidote to the heavy amounts of depression and anxiety that I was feeling at the time. The best way that I've been able to do that is by writing and recording within these states. I almost feel like sometimes it's like exposure therapy. It's also like when you're a kid, if you feel like there's a monster under your bed, the idea of the monster under your bed is oftentimes worse than just looking. And so for me, I leaned into this, feeling the anxiety, the depression, the purposelessness of it all. I wanted to try to capture that and relay it back to myself, because that was essentially me looking under the bed and trying to find the monster. People don't always look like they're depressed. People don't always look like they're anxious. From the outside, you'd think that most people have incredible lives looking at them through social media, but that's really only the tip of the iceberg. And for me, I battle with depression and anxiety, and I try to find ways to live with it. So I remember when I was writing Storm, I had this distinct feeling that I don't think this is going to be a light and airy track, which gave me pause for a second, but then I realized that life isn't light and airy all the time. And I, in fact, wasn't feeling light and airy when I was recording it. So I decided to just lean into that, into the fact that life can be heavy and serious, even dark, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing or that there isn't light at the end of the tunnel. The storm was my way of taking all of that internal turmoil, anxiety, and depression and turning it into something positive, and knowing that other people feel this way too. By acknowledging it and leaning into it, you actually validate it, which in a lot of ways can release it. I decided, let's see where this goes. Evolve is one of those tracks that you ask yourself, why didn't I see it when I started? I kept trying to pile on instruments and nothing fit. Sometimes the idea is just done when you begin. I started to farm some sounds and some ideas of how to get sounds. And while I was doing that, I crafted this pad on the modular system. And the way that it just spread out, it just had so much life and so much space and so much breath. That's what I'm always after in the music, is to capture the magic of exploration in the studio and being completely present with what you're doing. And it's my hope that the listener can feel that through their headphones and that it resonates with a deeper knowing inside of them that's already there and can help them become present as well. Dream Realized kind of sums up what Six Missing is as a project. It is electronic and organic, human and machine, nature, digital, studio effects, flow state, meditative sounds. It's everything. It might sound silly, but I feel like the sounds find me and I allow them to just come through. I get to blend in some guitar, I get to blend in some synths, I get to blend in some field recordings. Basically everything I love doing encapsulated in one track. You're taken on a journey through darkness and depression and anxiety, through the other side of that, hopefully. By the time you land at this track, the fog has lifted and the smoke is cleared and the feeling has returned to your body in such a way that is a welcomed relief. I also have heard from friends that they listen to these tracks at night to help them sleep, either for themselves or even for their children. I kept that in mind when I was writing this track. I wanted it to be a soft lullaby feel, something that you could play when winding down, and it would just be there as a gentle hand. Rest holds no mystery. It is a track for relaxation, and I was finally in a relaxed state while writing it and performing it, and I wanted to share that with you, the listeners. So to my memory, I built a drone in a loop through using guitar pedals, the guitar, and tape effects, slowing things down to get kind of an otherworldly drone. I really like ambiences and drones that don't feel like something that you could get straight out of a virtual instrument. So to do that, I kind of sample myself in that way. So I will play something, capture it in the machine, and then feed it to a tape deck and slow it down. Once it hits that moment of resonance inside my body, I know that that's where it should be. Each instrument that I layered in, I wanted it to be an intentional, gentle instruction to just be here now. If you listen close enough, you can hear field recordings behind it. And that was taken from a video that I recorded the last time myself and my wife walked through New York City before we moved. And so I like taking something from the past and inserting it into something that was my future, that became my past again, and is now my present. Time is really strange. Life is really strange. But I like creating this snapshot in time, and hopefully rest will help you do exactly that.